25 years. That's how long it had been since I last saw Sarah Mitchell. And when I finally did, she was digging through a trash can outside my favorite coffee shop in downtown Portland. I almost didn't recognize her. The vibrant redhead who once made my teenage heart skip beats was now a shadow. Her hair matted, her clothes layered in that desperate way homeless people learn to dress. But those green eyes, those impossible green eyes that used to light up when she laughed at my terrible jokes in AP chemistry, they were unmistakable. My first instinct was to pretend I hadn't seen her, to walk past, order my usual double-shot Americano, and continue with my comfortable life. After all, what do you say to someone who was once your entire world but is now this? But as I watched her carefully examine a half-eaten sandwich she'd found, something in my chest cracked open. Sarah? She froze. Actually froze, like a deer caught in headlights. When she turned around, I saw something I'll never forget. Shame so deep it made her physically smaller. She tried to smile, that same crooked grin I'd fallen in love with at 16, but it broke my heart. "Tommy Brennan," she whispered. Oh, God, of all the people. 25 years collapsed into nothing. I was 17 again, holding her hand in the school parking lot, promising we'd stay together forever. Promising we'd both get out of our small Ohio town and conquer the world together. We had it all planned out. She'd study environmental science, I'd go into business. We'd move to California and change everything. But life, as it tends to do, had other plans. I was just... She gestured vaguely at the trash can, her cheeks burning red. Looking for cans. Recycling pays decent if you collect enough. The Sarah I knew would have died before admitting to something like that. She was proud, fiercely independent. The girl who refused to let me pay for movie tickets because she didn't want anyone thinking she couldn't take care of herself. Seeing her like this, it was like watching someone slowly drown. "Come on," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Let me buy you coffee and food, whatever you want." She shook her head quickly. "No, Tommy, I can't. I mean, look at me. I smell like... God, I smell terrible. People will stare. I don't care if people stare." And I meant it. "Sarah, it's been 25 years. The least I can do is buy you lunch." What happened next surprised us both. She started crying. Not gentle tears, but the kind of desperate sobbing that comes from years of holding everything in. Right there on the sidewalk, this woman who once quoted Thoreau and debated environmental policy with our teachers fell apart. I did the only thing I could think of. I hugged her. She smelled like unwashed clothes and desperation. But underneath it all, I caught just a hint of that vanilla perfume she used to wear. It nearly destroyed me. "I'm sorry," she kept saying. "I'm so sorry, Tommy. This wasn't supposed to happen." We found a corner booth in the coffee shop, and I watched her devour a turkey sandwich like she hadn't eaten in days, which, as it turned out, she hadn't. Between bites, she told me her story. And it was nothing like I'd imagined all these years. See, I'd spent 2.5 decades assuming Sarah had moved on and lived her dream. In my mind, she was probably some successful environmental consultant, maybe married to a guy who appreciated her intellect, living in a house with solar panels and a garden full of heirloom tomatoes. I'd actually looked her up on social media a few times over the years, but she'd never had much of an online presence. Now I knew why. "After we broke up," she said, staring into her coffee, "I was so angry. At you, at myself, at the whole situation. I started dating this guy, Marcus, and he was older, seemed so sophisticated compared to high school boys. He said all the right things about my environmental interests, claimed he was involved in activism. I remembered our breakup, how bitter it had been. We were 18, both accepted to different colleges across the country. I'd wanted to try long distance, but Sarah said clean breaks were better. Said we'd just end up resenting each other if we held each other back. I thought she was being mature, wise even. I had no idea she was protecting me from what was coming next. Marcus wasn't an activist, she continued. He was a dealer. Small stuff at first, just marijuana, some pills, but it escalated quickly. By the time I realized what I'd gotten into, I was already in too deep. He had me selling to other students, said it was just temporary, just until he could expand his operation. My stomach dropped. This wasn't the Sarah I knew. The Sarah I knew had never even smoked cigarettes because she was worried about her lung capacity for track season. I got arrested my sophomore year, she said quietly. Possession with intent to distribute. It was my first offense, so I only got probation and community service, but the college expelled me. My scholarship was gone. My parents were so disappointed. They'd worked 2 jobs each to help me get there. I remember her parents. Mr. Mitchell worked at the steel plant. Mrs. Mitchell cleaned offices at night. They were good people who'd sacrificed everything for Sarah's education. The thought of their faces when they found out, I couldn't go back home. I was too ashamed. So I stayed with Marcus, and things got worse. He got me using, said it would help me relax, help me deal with the stress. First it was just marijuana, then pills for anxiety, then... She didn't need to finish. I could see the trajectory written in the lines around her eyes, the way her hands shook slightly when she wasn't holding something. I tried to get clean several times over the years, she said. Made it 6 months once. Got a job at a nonprofit, had a little apartment. I even reached out to my parents. My mom cried when she heard my voice, but Marcus always found me. Always had some crisis that required my help, some reason I needed to come back. The sandwich was gone now, and she was shredding the napkin with nervous fingers. He died 3 years ago, overdose. By then, I'd lost everything. My apartment, my job, contact with my family. I've been on the streets ever since. I sat there trying to process it all. While I'd been building my marketing firm, buying my house in the suburbs, going through my own marriage and divorce, Sarah had been living a nightmare that started with one bad relationship at 18. Where are your parents now? I asked. Dad died 5 years ago, heart attack. Mom moved to Florida to live with my sister. I never told them where I was. They think I'm dead, probably. It's better that way. Sarah, that's not... It is better, Tommy. Her voice was firm, but I could hear the pain underneath. Do you know what it's like to love someone so much that you disappear rather than keep hurting them? My mother used to send me birthday cards for years, even after I stopped responding. Beautiful cards with little notes about how much she missed me. I finally had to change shelters, change cities, just to make sure she couldn't find me. The coffee shop was busy around us, full of hipsters with laptops and college students cramming for exams, normal people living normal lives. I wondered how many of them had walked past Sarah without seeing her, just like I almost had. What about now? I asked. What's your situation currently? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I sleep in a women's shelter when there's space. When there isn't, I've got a spot under the Morrison Bridge that's usually safe. I collect cans, do some cleaning work when I can find it. There's a clinic downtown that helps people like me, but the waiting list for treatment programs is months long. People like you. Addicts, Tommy, let's not pretend otherwise. I've been clean for 63 days now, but I'm still an addict. Will be for the rest of my life. 63 days. She was counting. I go to NA meetings when I can, she continued. There's one at a church nearby that serves dinner after. Good people, mostly. We look out for each other. I found myself studying her face, looking for traces of the girl I'd once planned to marry. She was there, underneath the premature aging and the wariness. When she smiled, really smiled, not the broken attempts from earlier, I could still see her. Do you remember, I said carefully, that time we snuck out to go stargazing? You brought that thermos of hot chocolate your mom made? For the first time since we'd sat down, her expression softened completely. You brought that terrible blanket that smelled like your dog. Chester didn't smell that bad. Chester smelled like he'd been rolling in dead fish, but she was really smiling now. We stayed out there for hours talking about all the places we'd travel. You wanted to see the Northern Lights. Still do. I hesitated. Did you travel at all? Before everything went sideways? She nodded slowly. Marcus and I went to Colorado once. He had business there. But we stayed in the city. Didn't see any mountains. I kept thinking about how you and I had planned to hike there together. She paused. I thought about you a lot over the years, actually. Wondered how your life turned out. So I told her. About college, about building my business, about my marriage to Jennifer, and our divorce 2 years ago, about my house, my dog, a golden retriever named Murphy, my routine life that suddenly felt hollow in comparison to her struggles. No kids? She asked. Jennifer wanted them, but the timing never seemed right. Work was always too demanding, or we were having problems, or... I shrugged. Now I'm 43 and single, and most days I eat dinner alone while watching Netflix. That sounds peaceful, actually. It's lonely, I admitted. Success isn't as fulfilling as everyone pretends it is. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the afternoon crowd thin out. I found myself calculating how much money I had in savings, what kind of apartment deposit might cost, whether my health insurance could help with treatment programs. Tommy, Sarah said quietly, I can see those wheels turning. Don't what? Don't try to save me. I know you. Even at 17, you were always trying to fix everything for everyone. But this isn't something you can fix with money or connections or good intentions. I'm not trying to fix you, I said, though we both knew that was exactly what I was thinking. Seeing you like this, knowing what happened, I feel responsible somehow. Responsible? Tommy, you were 18 when we broke up. We were kids. But what if we'd stayed together? What if I'd fought harder for long distance? Maybe you never would have met Marcus. Never would have. Stop. Her voice was sharp now. That's not how life works. You can't rewrite the past by feeling guilty about it. She was right, but it didn't make the feeling go away. This was Sarah, the first person I'd ever loved, the girl who'd made me believe in forever. Seeing her dig through garbage cans while I lived in comfort felt like a cosmic injustice. What if I could help with treatment? I asked. Not as charity, but as, I don't know, an investment in an old friend? She studied my face for a long moment. There's a program at OHSU. Residential treatment, job training, transitional housing. It's good, but it's expensive. $12,000 for the full program. That's not that much money, Sarah. It is when you don't have it. She picked up her coffee cup, realized it was empty, set it down again. I've been on the waiting list for the sliding scale spots for 8 months. $12,000. I'd spent more than that on my kitchen renovation last year. The thought made me slightly sick. What if... I started, then stopped. This was complicated. More complicated than just throwing money at a problem. What if what? What if I paid for the program, but we set up some kind of structure around it, like You'd pay me back when you're working again. Make it a loan, not charity." She was quiet for so long, I thought she was going to say no. Finally, she spoke. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're Sarah Mitchell, and you once told me that every person deserves a chance to become who they're meant to be. Because seeing you like this is breaking my heart, and I have the resources to help because—" I took a breath. "Because maybe this is why we ran into each other today. I don't believe in fate, Tommy. Neither did I, until today." She stared out the window at the Portland street, watching people hurry by with their important lives and urgent destinations. I watched her think, could almost see her weighing pride against pragmatism, hope against fear. "The program has a waiting list even for paying customers," she said finally. "But Dr. Martinez, who runs it, she's good people. If someone vouches for you, sometimes they can move faster." "What would that involve?" "You'd have to meet with her, probably. Answer questions about why you're willing to invest in a homeless addict you haven't seen in 25 years. She'd want to make sure this isn't some weird savior complex thing that's going to blow up halfway through." "Is it? A weird savior complex thing?" Sarah looked at me directly for the first time since we'd sat down. Really looked at me, the way she used to when we were trying to figure out some complicated chemistry problem together. "I don't think so," she said slowly. "I think you're a good person who's trying to do right by someone who mattered to you once. But Tommy, if we do this, there have to be boundaries. This isn't about us getting back together. This isn't about recreating what we had when we were kids. This is about giving me a chance to rebuild my life, and that's all." "I understand." "Do you?" "Because I can see it in your eyes. You're already imagining some fairy tale ending where love conquers all and we ride off into the sunset. That's not going to happen. Too much has changed. I've done things, been places. I'm not the girl you remember. I'm not asking you to be. And I'm not asking you to be my boyfriend or my husband or anything other than someone who's helping me get back on my feet. Can you handle that?" I thought about it honestly. Could I spend $12,000 on Sarah's treatment, watch her get healthy and rebuild her life, and not hope for something more? Could I be satisfied with just knowing she was okay? "I think so," I said. "And if I can't handle it, I'll figure that out and deal with it. But Sarah, I can't walk away from this. I can't pretend I didn't see you today." She nodded slowly. "Dr. Martinez has office hours on Thursdays. I could ask her about setting up a meeting. What's her full name? I'll call tomorrow and set something up." "Dr. Elena Martinez. She runs the Recovery Bridge program at OHSU. But Tommy?" "Yeah? This might not work. I might relapse. I might fail out of the program. I might take your money and disappear. You need to be prepared for that possibility. Are you planning to do any of those things?" "No, but addiction isn't about planning. It's about what happens when everything falls apart and you're desperate, and the only thing that makes sense is using again." I thought about that. About the $12,000, about the risk, about what Jennifer would say if she knew I was about to invest in a homeless ex-girlfriend's recovery. Then I thought about Sarah at 17, passionate and brilliant and full of dreams about saving the world. "I'll take the risk," I said. "Why?" "Because 63 days ago you decided to get clean. You've been counting every single day since then. You're sitting here having this conversation instead of using whatever money you collected today to get high. That tells me everything I need to know about whether you're worth the investment." She started crying again, but quietly this time. Tears of relief, maybe, or gratitude. or just the overwhelming weight of having someone believe in her after years of everyone giving up. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you're 2 years clean and working at some environmental nonprofit, making the world better." "Is that what you think will happen?" "I think you're going to surprise yourself with what you're capable of." We exchanged phone numbers. She had a basic cell phone she'd gotten from the shelter. Made plans to meet the following week after I'd talked to Dr. Martinez. As we prepared to leave, Sarah hesitated. "Tommy, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever think about the night we broke up, what we said to each other?" I remembered. We'd been cruel in the way only teenagers in love can be cruel. Said things designed to hurt, to make the separation easier by making each other easier to hate. "I said you were naive to think you could change the world," I admitted. "I said you'd realize how unrealistic your dreams were once you got to college. And I said you'd never amount to anything because you only cared about money and status." She looked down at her hands. "I was wrong about that. You built something. You became successful. And you were right about me only caring about money and status. It took me 25 years to realize how empty that feels." Maybe we were both right and both wrong. Maybe. We stood up and I realized I didn't want her to leave. Not because I was hoping for some romantic reconciliation, but because I was terrified she'd disappear again. This chance encounter would turn out to be some cruel dream, and I'd wake up never knowing what happened to her. "Sarah, where will you be sleeping tonight?" "The shelter, hopefully. They do intake at 6, first come, first served. And if there's no space, then under the bridge. I've got a sleeping bag, and it's not supposed to rain." The thought of Sarah spending the night under a bridge while I went home to my comfortable house with the guest bedroom and the king-size bed made me feel sick. "Come stay at my place," I said impulsively. She shook her head immediately. "That crosses the boundary we just established." "Not in my bed. I have a guest room, completely separate. You could shower, get a good night's sleep, have breakfast in the morning." "Tommy, look, I know it's complicated, but it's one night, and tomorrow you can go back to the shelter system, or whatever feels more appropriate. The thought of you sleeping outside when I have a warm house." She studied my face again, looking for ulterior motives. "Just sleep," I said. "I swear, I'll probably work late anyway. I've got a presentation to finish for Wednesday. You still work too much." "Some things don't change." She smiled at that, and I saw a flash of the old Sarah. The one who used to tease me about my obsessive study habits. "Okay," she said finally. "One night. But I'm taking the couch. The guest room has its own bathroom." "The couch, Tommy. That's my comfort level." "Fair enough." So that's how I ended up driving Sarah Mitchell home with me, 25 years after I'd thought I'd never see her again. She sat quietly in my Audi, taking in the leather seats and the satellite radio, the symbols of the life I'd built without her. "Nice car," she said as we pulled into my driveway. "Thanks. I probably paid too much for it." She laughed. "You always were terrible with money." "Hey, I built a successful business by overpaying for everything." But she was smiling, and for a moment, it felt like we were just Tommy and Sarah again, 25 years of pain and mistakes forgotten. My house was exactly what you'd expect from a successful, recently divorced marketing executive. Clean lines, expensive furniture, everything in its place. Sarah walked through slowly, not touching anything, just observing. "It's beautiful," she said. "Very organized." Jennifer was the organized one. I just haven't moved anything since she left. "Why did you get divorced?" I'd been dreading this question, though I wasn't sure why. We wanted different things. She wanted stability, routine, predictability. I thought I did too, but it turns out I was just going through the motions. We were like roommates who happened to be married. Do you miss her? I miss having someone to come home to, but honestly, we probably should have divorced years earlier. We were staying together out of habit more than love. Sarah nodded like she understood. I've never been married, never even came close after Marcus. Why not? Trust issues, mostly. And addiction doesn't exactly make you relationship material. Hard to love someone who might steal your wallet to buy drugs. The casual way she said it hit me harder than I expected. This was what addiction had cost her. Not just her career and her family, but her ability to believe she deserved love. I showed her where everything was, towels, toiletries, the kitchen if she got hungry. She stood in the doorway of the guest room, looking overwhelmed. I haven't slept in a real bed in 8 months, she said quietly. Then enjoy it. Tommy, why are you doing this? Really? I thought about lying, giving her some easy answer about human decency or paying it forward. But Sarah had always been able to see through my bullshit. Because I loved you, I said. Not past tense love, but present tense love. Because seeing you today reminded me that success means nothing if you don't use it to help people who matter to you. Because I paused, trying to find the right words. Because maybe this is my chance to be the person you thought I could be when we were 17. She was quiet for a long moment. The person I thought you could be when we were 17 was pretty amazing, she said finally. Yeah, well, he got lost somewhere along the way. Maybe it's time to find him again. She went to shower then, and I tried to focus on work. But I kept thinking about her words, about how she'd been clean for 63 days, about sleeping under bridges, about parents who thought their daughter was dead, about the girl who once quoted Thoreau and dreamed of changing the world, now counting recycling money to survive. I called Dr. Martinez's office and left a message. Then I called my lawyer to ask about setting up a formal loan agreement. Then I sat in my living room listening to the shower run and wondered what the hell I was getting myself into. When Sarah came out wearing clean clothes from her backpack, she looked more like herself, still too thin, still carrying the weight of hard years, but cleaner, more present. Feel better? I asked. You have no idea. She settled onto the couch with a grateful sigh. I had forgotten what hot water feels like. I made us both coffee, and we talked until nearly midnight. Not about heavy things, just catching up on life. She told me about books she'd read at the library and about other people she'd met on the streets, about small victories like finding a decent pair of boots at Goodwill. I told her about my business, about Murphy the dog, about learning to cook during the pandemic. It was easy in a way I hadn't expected. We fell back into the rhythm we'd had as teenagers when we could talk for hours about anything and everything. Some connections, I realized, never really break. They just go dormant, waiting for the right moment to reawaken. I should let you get some sleep, I said finally. You've had a long day. So have you. She looked at me seriously. Thank you, Tommy, for all of it. This is the first time in years I felt human. You are human, Sarah. You never stop being human. Sometimes it's hard to remember that. I left her with extra blankets and went to my own room, but I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about parallel universes, about the life where Sarah and I had stayed together, where she'd never met Marcus, where we'd both become the people we'd planned to be. But maybe that was the wrong way to think about it. Maybe the question wasn't what could have been, but what could still be. The next morning, I found her in the kitchen making coffee. She'd folded the blankets neatly and cleaned up after herself, trying not to be a burden, even here. Sleep okay? I asked. Best night's sleep I've had in months. She handed me a mug. I called Dr. Martinez this morning. She can see us Thursday at 2. Us? She wants to meet you before she'll consider an expedited placement. Make sure you're serious and not some creep with ulterior motives. Fair enough. What should I expect? Questions. Lots of questions. About why you're doing this, what your expectations are, how you'll handle it if I struggle in the program. Oh, Sarah sat down across from me. She's protective of her patients. She's seen too many people get their hopes up only to have their support system bail when things get difficult. And do things get difficult? Recovery is the hardest thing I've ever done, and I've failed at it more times than I can count. There will be days when I hate you for putting me through it. Days when I'll try to convince you that I'm hopeless and you should just give up. What should I do on those days? Remind me that I've been clean for 64 days. She smiled slightly. And that I'm Sarah Mitchell, and Sarah Mitchell doesn't quit. I spent the rest of the week preparing for the meeting with Dr. Martinez. I researched her program, read about addiction recovery, tried to understand what I was really committing to. It wasn't just the money. It was signing up to be part of Sarah's support system for the next year at minimum. Thursday afternoon, we met at OHSU. Dr. Martinez was a small woman with intelligent eyes and a firm handshake. She grilled me for an hour about my motivations, my resources, my understanding of addiction. She asked pointed questions about my relationship history with Sarah, about my expectations for her recovery, about how I'd handle it if she relapsed. Mr. Brennan, she said finally, I'm going to be very direct with you. Sarah is a high-functioning addict who's been on the streets for 3 years. She's been through detox 4 times and relapsed each time within 6 months. Her longest period of sobriety was 8 months, 2 years ago. What makes you think this time will be different? I looked at Sarah, who was sitting quietly beside me. She'd warned me this question was coming. Because this time, she's not doing it alone, I said. Because she has someone invested in her success who isn't going to disappear when things get hard. Because she's survived 3 years on the streets and still has the strength to keep trying. And because, I paused, because I believe she's stronger than her addiction. Dr. Martinez studied us both for a long moment. The program is 90 days residential, followed by 6 months of outpatient support and job training. The total cost is $12,000 due in advance. If Sarah completes the full program, she'll have transitional housing for up to a year while she establishes employment and stability. And if she doesn't complete it, then you'll have lost your money, and Sarah will be back where she started. There are no refunds for good intentions. I looked at Sarah again. She was staring at her hands, trying not to hope too hard. When can she start? I asked. We have an opening Monday. If you're serious about this, I need a cashier's check by Friday afternoon. You'll have it. Dr. Martinez nodded briskly. Sarah will need you here Monday morning at 8 a.m. with everything you own. The first 30 days, you'll have no contact with the outside world except for medical emergencies. After that, supervised visits and phone calls. Mr. Brennan, I strongly suggest you use that 30 days to examine your own motivations and decide whether you're prepared for this long-term commitment. I am prepared. We'll see. Outside in the parking lot, Sarah was quiet. We sat in my car watching people come and go from the medical complex. Are you scared? I asked. Terrified, she admitted. What if I fail again? What if I waste your money and end up back on the streets? What if you don't? I don't know how to imagine that anymore. I've been in survival mode for so long. The idea of actually building a life again feels impossible. Sarah, look at me. She turned to face me. You are not the same person who relapsed before. You're stronger now, more determined. And this time, you're not alone. Promise me something, she said. What? Promise me that if I mess this up, you won't blame yourself. This is my choice, my responsibility. Whatever happens, it's not on you. I promise. But you're not going to mess this up. How can you be so sure? Because you're Sarah Mitchell. And Sarah Mitchell once told me that every person deserves a chance to become who they're meant to be. I think it's time you gave yourself that chance. The next day, I went to the bank and got the cashier's check. $12,000 made out to the Recovery Bridge program. It was, without question, the best investment I'd ever made. Saturday, Sarah and I spent the day together. We drove to the coast, walked on the beach, talked about everything and nothing. She was nervous about Monday, but also more hopeful than I'd seen her. For the first time in years, she had a real plan, a real chance at rebuilding her life. Thank you, she said as we watched the sunset over the Pacific. Not just for the money, but for believing in me when I'd stopped believing in myself. You don't need to thank me, Sarah. Just get well. Build the life you're supposed to have. What if the life I'm supposed to have doesn't include you? It was the question I'd been avoiding. The possibility that Sarah would get clean, get stable, and decide that keeping me in her life was too complicated or painful. Then I'll be happy knowing you're okay, I said. This isn't about me, remember? It's about giving you a chance. But it is about you, a little bit. You're not doing this purely out of altruism. She was right, of course. Part of me was hoping that helping Sarah would lead to something. A relationship, a future, a chance to reclaim what we'd lost. Maybe, I admitted. But even if it doesn't work out the way I might hope, I still want to do this. I need to do this. Why? Because 25 years ago, I let the best person I knew walk out of my life without fighting for her. I'm not making that mistake again. Monday morning, I drove Sarah to OHSU. She had everything she owned in 2 garbage bags and a backpack. It was heartbreaking and hopeful at the same time. This is it, she said as we pulled into the parking lot. This is it. I'm going to do this, Tommy. I'm going to get clean and stay clean and build a life worth living. I know you are. She kissed my cheek. The first physical contact we'd had since that first hug outside the coffee shop. See you in 30 days, she said. I'll be here. I watched her walk into the building, carrying those garbage bags like they contained everything precious in the world. In a way, they did. They contained her chance at a future. That was 6 months ago. Sarah completed the residential program, finished the outpatient program, got a job with an environmental consulting firm downtown, moved into her own apartment, nothing fancy but clean and safe and hers. We see each other regularly now, but carefully. Coffee dates, walks in the park, the occasional dinner. We're friends, good friends. But we're both aware that there's something else simmering underneath. The question is whether we're brave enough to explore it. Last week, she invited me to a 6-month celebration at NA. I sat in the back of that church basement watching her accept her chip, listening to her talk about gratitude and second chances, and the people who believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Afterward, we walked to that same coffee shop where I'd found her all those months ago. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you'd walked past that day? She asked. Every day, I said. Do you? Every day? She was quiet for a moment. I think I would have died, Tommy. Maybe not that week or that month, but eventually. I was giving up. But you didn't give up, You're here. We're here, she corrected. Both of us. Different than we were, but here. Are you happy? I asked. I'm getting there. Some days are harder than others, but yes, I'm getting there. She looked at me seriously. What about you? Are you happy? I'm getting there too. Because of me? Because of a lot of things. Helping you reminded me who I wanted to be. Gave me a purpose beyond just making money and buying stuff. So what happens now? It was the question we'd been dancing around for months. I don't know, I said honestly. I know I care about you. I know I want you in my life. But I also know we're different people than we were at 17, and we can't go back to what we had then. What if we don't want to go back? What if we want to go forward? Is that what you want? I think so, but I'm scared, Tommy. I've never tried to have a healthy relationship. I don't know if I remember how. We could figure it out together, I said. Take it slow, see what happens. She smiled then, the first completely unguarded smile I'd seen from her since that day outside the coffee shop. I'd like that, she said. So that's where we are now. Taking it slow, figuring it out together. Some days are easier than others. Sarah still goes to meetings, still counts her days of sobriety. She's at 207 now. I still work too much, still overthink everything, but I'm learning to be present for the important moments. We're not the same people we were at 17, dreaming of conquering the world together. We're older, scarred, carrying the weight of years and mistakes and hard-won wisdom. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe love at 43 is different than love at 17, deeper, more intentional, built on who we actually are instead of who we thought we'd become. Last month, Sarah got promoted to senior consultant at her firm. She's working on a project to restore wetlands outside Portland, something that would have thrilled 17-year-old Sarah beyond measure. She called me from the field site, practically vibrating with excitement about soil samples and native plant species. I never thought I'd get to do this kind of work, she said. For years, I thought that dream was dead. Dreams don't die, I told her. Sometimes they just take longer than expected. Is that what this is? Us, I mean? A dream that took longer than expected? Maybe. Or maybe it's something better than what we originally dreamed. How could it be better? Because now we know how rare this is, how easy it is to lose. We're not taking it for granted. She was quiet for a moment, and I could hear wind rustling through whatever tree she was standing near. I love you, Tommy, she said finally. Not the way I loved you when we were kids, but deeper, more real. I love you too, I said, and meant it in a way I hadn't meant it with anyone else, not even Jennifer. Tonight, Sarah's coming over for dinner. Nothing fancy. I'm making pasta. She's bringing salad from the farmer's market. We'll probably watch a movie. Maybe talk about her work or my latest client crisis. Normal things, unremarkable things. The kind of evening I used to think was boring. But I've learned something important over the past 6 months. Love isn't always dramatic rescue scenes and grand gestures. Sometimes it's just showing up consistently, believing in someone when they can't believe in themselves, creating space for healing and growth. Sometimes it's as simple as seeing someone digging through a trash can and choosing not to walk away. Dr. Martinez was right to warn me that recovery is complicated, that there would be difficult days. Sarah has had moments of doubt, times when the old habits and thought patterns resurface. But she's never stopped fighting, never stopped choosing sobriety and health and the future she's building. And I've learned that helping someone isn't about fixing them or saving them. It's about standing beside them while they save themselves. The girl I fell in love with at 17 was brilliant and passionate and full of dreams. The woman I'm falling in love with now is brilliant and passionate and full of dreams too. But she's also resilient in ways that 17-year-old Sarah never had to be. She's fought battles I can't imagine, survived things that would have broken other people, and come out stronger. She's still Sarah Mitchell, the girl who wanted to change the world. She's just taking a different path to get there. As for me, I'm still Tommy Brennan, still probably working too much and overthinking everything. But I'm also learning what it means to love someone not for who they used to be or who they might become, but for exactly who they are right now, in this moment, scars and strength and everything in between. We don't know what the future holds. Recovery is a day-by-day process, and relationships require their own kind of daily commitment, but we're both showing up, both choosing each other and the life we're building together. Maybe that's all anyone can do. Show up, choose love, and trust that sometimes the best stories are the ones that take 25 years to find their real beginning. 3 months ago, Sarah asked me what I thought would have happened if we'd stayed together after high school. I told her I didn't know, but that I was grateful we didn't. If we'd stayed together at 18, we would have been different people, shaped by different experiences. We might have been happy, but we wouldn't have been who we are now. And who we are now, battle-tested, wiser, carrying hard-earned perspective about what matters and what doesn't. Who we are now might just be capable of the kind of love that lasts. Yesterday, Sarah celebrated 8 months of sobriety. We went to the beach where we'd walked that day before she entered treatment. And she told me about her plans to start a nonprofit focused on environmental education for at-risk youth. Kids who are facing some of the same challenges I faced, she said. Show them that there are other paths, other possibilities. That sounds amazing, I said. It feels like what I'm supposed to be doing, like everything I went through. Maybe it was preparing me for this. Maybe it was. Will you help me? With the business side, I mean. I know environmental science, but I don't know anything about running an organization. Are you asking me to be your business partner? I'm asking you to help me change the world. Isn't that what we always planned to do? I looked at her standing there on the sand, hair whipping in the ocean wind, eyes bright with possibility. She looked like a girl I'd fallen in love with at 17, but also like someone entirely new, someone forged by struggle and loss and the daily choice to keep fighting. Yeah, I said. That's exactly what we plan to do. So that's our story, not the fairy tale romance where love conquers all in 90 minutes with a soundtrack, but the real-world version where love is daily choice and recovery is ongoing work, and dreams sometimes take decades to unfold. Sarah Mitchell is 8 months sober today. She has her own apartment, a job she loves, plans for a nonprofit that could help kids avoid the path she went down. She's rebuilding relationships with her family. Her mom cried for an hour when Sarah called her last month. And she has me, the boy who loved her first, now a man learning how to love her better. I don't know what happens next, but I know we'll face it together one day at a time, counting victories and supporting each other through setbacks. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to walk past someone who needs help. Sometimes the best investment you can make is in another person's potential for healing and growth. And sometimes the love of your life is exactly where you left them, just waiting for you to be brave enough to stop and really see them. If you've made it this far in my story, I'm hoping it resonated with something in your own life. Maybe you've got someone from your past you've lost touch with, someone you wonder about. Maybe you faced your own struggles with addiction or homelessness, or just feeling invisible in a world that's moving too fast to notice individual pain. Whatever brought you here today, I want you to know that second chances are real. Recovery is possible. Love, real love. The kind that sees people clearly and chooses them anyway. That's possible too. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me about your own second chances, your own stories of people who refused to walk past when you needed help most. And if this story moved you, hit that subscribe button, because we're all just walking each other home, and sometimes we need to be reminded that we're not alone in this. The world is full of Sarah Mitchells and Tommy Brennans, people whose paths crossed once and are destined to cross again. The question is whether we'll have the courage to stop walking and really see each other when that moment comes. Thanks for listening to my story. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most extraordinary thing you can do is simply refuse to look away.